Duistic Studio. Do more.
Candace Owens back at it again. She just can't help herself. You know, I've been doing this for 2 years, being an activist for injustices happening here in America. I mean, I'm reading books. Now we're reading Stamped from the beginning, or Stamped the Remix, I'm sorry. Educating myself. You know, I went to college for a year studying business, right? And that's when I got to learn a lot about psychology, and I really had a blast, but I don't want to be in debt. So hopefully I can come up on TikTok and go back to school to study something in legalities. However, I just cannot believe that somebody with a associate's degree in journalism doesn't even do basic research.
The truth is that if you care about black people, you have to talk about black on black crime. Upwards to 95% of black homicide victims are killed by other black people.
I mean, Google is free, right? And also, for those of you that are conservatives that think that Google is incredible, there are also edus, .govs. All of these sources are available on Google. So just because you use Google doesn't mean there isn't credible sources. In fact, I found this source right here explaining, and I'll leave the link up here and also the clip of the picture of the words that I've taken. So I'm not paraphrasing here. I'm just sharing information that according to the Bureau of Justice, right, statistics, the majority of violent crimes were done by the same race. So this whole idea that there's black on black crime, that's a false narrative. They love saying that word. You'll hear it tons of times with conservatives and Republicans, white and black. They just love saying narrative because it makes it not real, a fantasy. All right. So can I take that word for us Democrats out here? Can we start saying they're living a fantasy because they have lost their minds? Back to the facts though. In 2018, there's a national survey found offenders were 70% of the time the same race. According to this article, Brown, a law professor at Emory University and author of Critical Race Theory, Brown said black communities also have a right to be more concerned with police brutality because it's state sanctioned. She said research shows those communities are often over-policed. So it's not black on black crime. That's just statistically what happens in every race. So you have to understand that they have targeted the POC community by saying black on black. When there's white on white, Mexican on Mexican, Asian on Asian, most crimes, 70% of the time, are done
by the same race.
In a recent 2018 survey. By the way, why don't we call it white on white crime? And that's not the only place. To say that there's black on black crime that's plaguing the United States and only using 2 or 3 cities out of the 50 states seems very premeditated. Oh, what's going on in Chicago? They are being disproportionately policed. Why doesn't Candace Owens say that? You never see her say disproportionately. You never see her say the words minority, because these words are what dictate the disparities that are being perpetuated in these cities and towns and reasons why things happen the way that they are. You know, I'm in real estate, so I know for a fact that if you pay your property tax, state tax, all those taxes that we pay in our states go to our state. So if these cities aren't doing good, you know, pertaining to opportunities, education, you know, crime, whatever it is, whatever the synopsis may be, it's because they're not getting the money. They're not getting the funds. And then on top of that, to be disproportionately over policed and then say that, oh, there it is, it's all them. It's crazy. I mean, let's pull up the FBI statistics, right? Who's doing 70% of the crime here? Now, I'm not here to point the freaking finger, but there is something seriously going on Fox News Network where they keep letting Candace Owens perpetuate lies. I'll show you guys more. Let's watch this.
The peasants beneath him and that follow him all invest in this lie, destroy their own communities, and yes, kill each other, as would have been the circumstance if that police officer had not have intervened.
What I want you guys to really dissect is the verbiage that Candace Owens uses on a public platform, Fox News. And I also want you guys to really dissect what she leaves out. It wasn't just a cop intervening so that a girl could, you know, survive. It was the mere fact that the girl, Ma'Khia Bryant, by the way, who they can just continue showing this girl's murder over and over again, is that they don't say her name and they don't say her age. That to me is very premeditated and very manipulative. How can you leave the fact that her name was Ma'Khia Bryant? How do you leave out the fact that she was a teenager? How do you leave out the fact that the cop could have done multiple other, you know, scenarios? How do you leave out the fact that the cop really did not de-escalate the situation at all? Now, I understand that the girl had a knife, but the knife didn't even touch the other girl. You know, I said this before on my TikTok that the only difference between the girl and the cop was that the cop guaranteed death and the girl attempted to do it. She didn't even get a chance. So it's just really concerning at this point that Fox News is allowed to hire Candace Owens to perpetuate lies and to leave out very, very important details of the case. I mean, I'm surprised that the police force or police associations aren't getting involved with misinformation with cases that are pending.
Every single weekend, and this goes back to the Biden-Obama years, Leo. I can come on this program every Monday and tell you how many people were shot in the city of Chicago. I could tell you how many people were shot and killed in the city of Chicago and a lot of other big cities. Every single weekend. Murder rates are skyrocketing all over the country.
Murder rates are skyrocketing all over the country because of lax gun laws. Just go to my TikTok. I've been a huge advocate of gun control, and the world in Texas and other places that are gun-loving states have completely and utterly attacked me in my efforts into creating solutions and being a spokesperson, an outspoken person about the concerns that I have in this country pertaining to gun safety, gun reform. and also awarenesses that are going on. I mean, I'll leave the link up here, somewhere here, probably over here, where you can see that it's not just Chicago. It's literally like all over the United States. I mean, there are more guns in this country than there are people. That's concerning. And then when I say that there are other countries, again, I'll leave the information here, that have completely ameliorated gun violence deaths. America is leading in gun violence deaths, and it's not just black people doing it. I mean, look what just happened at the FedEx, right? Mass shootings. Who's doing those? The Night Stalker. Did you guys watch The Night Stalker? Really terrifying stuff. Was it a black person? No. There is a huge problem with racism in our country systemically. It's in our media, it's in our books, it's literally everywhere. And I have this conclusion, and I'll tell you it right after you watch this. One more banter with Candace Owens being completely enabled on Fox News. I'll tell you my conclusion after this.
I think in a country like ours, very top, I mean, this is the most first world country that's ever been. You'd think the most civilized and the most just. Here you have to consider a murder case through the lens of politics. When you get to that point, haven't you already given up civilization?
Well, that's correct. And what we're really seeing is mob justice. And that's really what happened with this entire trial. This was not a trial about George Floyd or Derek Chauvin. This was a trial about whether the media was powerful enough to create a simulation and decide upon a narrative absent any facts. Whether it was powerful enough to repeat showing and talking about a 9-minute clip that came from somebody's cell phone without adding any context, without showing the full, the full police video, which they could have released. They refused to release the full body cam, which would have added more clarity to the fact that the media was lying. The media came out, let's not forget this, Tucker. The media came out and told us that this was a man who was just getting his life together. He was a good member of society, and he got mixed up because a racist white police officer had it out for him and killed him. All of that fell apart. All of the facts came out, and all of that fell apart. We now know, of course, that he had enough fentanyl in him. It was 3 times the lethal dosage, 3 times lethal dosage in him when he died. But nobody cares because the media was successful in putting out a narrative, and they kept hitting that narrative. And the reason why the Democrats are happy is because they realize, of course, the media supports them, and now means the Democrats can get whatever they want because they can create a narrative, and then they can treat people like pawns and get them to basically say, if we don't get what we want, we will riot, we will loot, we will send these people out like soldiers to destroy your neighborhoods. And that is exactly what has happened. That has been the determination of this trial. The media and the Democrats now have enough power to bully and to lie to and to create propaganda and to successfully win. And that is what happened. And they are celebrating that win today. This was not a fair trial.
Only one side.
No person can say this was a fair trial.
You just got to take 3 steps back and acknowledge that only one side behaves this way. I mean, a jury in 1995 concluded that O.J. Simpson, despite DNA evidence, hadn't murdered 2 people, and there were no riots. But more to the point, there are a lot of people sitting behind, Trump voters sitting behind bars right now, have been for months, charged effectively with trespassing. We're not speculating. We've seen the charges. No Republican in the Congress stands up for them. Nobody mentions that. Nobody, is for prison reform when it's their political enemies. That's not equal justice, but nobody says it. Why is that?
Because we have 2 pandemics going on right now. There's a pandemic of ignorance in this country, and that is only allowed to fly because we also have a pandemic of...
I just wanted to add, didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted you guys to see that video that they keep posting on Fox News on that clip was from 2020. It's year 2021. And the mere fact is they don't even mention the MAGA hat takeover at the Capitol. Like, amazing that they can continue on with these narratives and lies. I mean, yeah, the BLM did have some issues with looting and stuff like that, but to not even bring up what happened at the Capitol at the inauguration on January 6, 2020, when Donald Trump insinuated violence and they actually fell through with it. People died on that day, even a cop. Stop the madness.
Forgives all of the trauma that he brought against his victims while he was alive. You know, a man that served 7+ stints in prison while he was alive, armed robbery being 2 of the reasons why, and now we're going to martyr him and say that your name will forever be synonymous with justice. Imagine, Tucker, if you are one of his victims that is alive, one of his victims that he armed robbed, and you have to hear that this man's name will always be synonymous with justice. How would that feel to you? I feel like we are living in fiction right now in America. We are losing this country, and we are living in fiction because people are not strong enough to call out this stuff. And I feel like I'm one of the only ones who has the courage to say I will not be mobbed into a different reality.
This is where they try and pull you off the internet because you're not afraid. I just got to ask you, it's frustrating, of course, to watch what you and I have been talking about, where one side ferociously defends its power, the other side abandons its voters to jail. I wonder, though, is there a point where just ordinary people can say, you know, I'm not in control of politics, but you're not allowed to block my street with a protest or intimidate me on my front lawn or break into my store and steal stuff. Like, I'm going to defend my family. I'm going to defend my business. You don't have a right to do that. There's no justification for riots anymore. And I'm just not going to put up with it.
Did not answer that question correctly. I'll do the job. Being a full, blown out, outspoken advocate for police brutality, gun law reform, I voted for Biden, and I am not going to stop being an activist for what's right. Tucker is right. There should not be violence from any side, left or right. Rioting is illegal, and any person looting and rioting and damaging cities that we all live in, it's illegal, and they should all be held accountable. But we're not going to sit there and only speak on one issue, one side, okay? Because there is another flip to the coin. The riots will stop, the marching will stop, the protests will stop, the chaos, the radicals or whatever, erratic and radicals will stop once this country acknowledges the damage that has been done pertaining to the POC cities, POC communities, POC people of color, okay? Hispanics, Latinos, you guys are right next to us, okay? I can say us because I'm a Black African-American woman. I don't even know when my family got here, okay? Because our culture, our practices, our language, our beliefs, everything, our identity was ripped and raped from us. 0 reparations. Chinese got 20 grand. Hawaiians got what they got. You know what I'm saying? Black people have gotten nothing but a backhand saying, if you don't like it, then get out of here. Knowing dang well they took it from the Native Americans, Trail of Tears. Ain't that a dang shame? Educate yourself, left and right. Educate yourself, Black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, all people of this country, and see what is being allowed on Fox News. Just the languages that they use, the racial language that is continuously used should be illegal. Okay? I believe that no network should even speak in the way that they do when it pertaining to racial disparities. And Candace Owens is the freaking puppet. She's either super remedial or she's super clever, because I just don't think she's that dumb. Like, I just don't think she's that naive to understand that she is completely perpetuating far-right talking points that have been oppressing our people since day one. The mere fact is, I don't think nothing's really changed pertaining to the people that are in charge. I mean, what I mean when I say that is, I think Candace Owens knows exactly what she's doing. And I think if you can look besides this, she doesn't even know what's happening. But I'm a woman of intuitiveness. I believe that she is talking to the Black people and she's saying, there it is. Everything that we need to know. Is there systemic racism? Why am I still here? Why do they still keep hiring me? Why do I keep getting all the opportunities? I've been hired for a job. I'm just starting to act like I'm Candace Owens. I've been hired for a job, and that is to perpetuate their agenda. That's why I'm still here. Otherwise, why is she still here? When Black people have been said that she is not a spokesperson for us. Like, we've been took her black card. Amazing how she can talk about LeBron James when LeBron James has actually put his money where his mouth is and has done things for the people that he calls his own. Okay. What has Candace Owens done for the Black people? What has she done? And for those of you that love Candace Owens, put down in the comments and tell me one positive thing that she's even said about her own people. I bet you can't even say one. CNN, call me, because I'm ready for my turn. But I actually do research.
Now live in mob rule. This is mob rule society. I mean, this is based on the evidence that we saw, and this was polluted from start to finish. So to me, the most important element of this, which I found to be astonishing, was the fact that they never released the full police footage. They had it, they sat on it, they locked it down.
Please believe me,